Yeah, you should be able to. They're connected to one board. Test 1 2. Test 1 2. Say that into the microphone. It's just delayed a few seconds. And we welcome you to the first edition of the Coach Brent Thompson Coaches Show here in 2019. Better late than never. We apologize for any sort of technical difficulties getting us on the air, but our first Coaches Show of the year with the head coach Brent Thompson as we get ready for Georgia Tech this week with the Citadel after 2 games already into the year. Coach, good evening. How are you?
I'm good. We had a good day of practice today, and we're finally getting back into a routine where it feels like we've got things kind of in order, ready to go again. The hurricane threw us off a little bit last week. The week before, we were in between camp and classes beginning, so we were a little bit off that week. So this week is really our first week, not only for the radio show, but to be able to prep fully with classes going on like we normally traditionally would do this time of year. So we're looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to getting into a rhythm and a groove.
Hey, here at the Marina Variety Store Restaurant for the second straight year for the Coaches Show, located at 17 Lockwood Drive here in downtown Charleston, just down the road from the Citadel campus, where we will be every Wednesday during the season from 7 to 8 here for the Coaches Show, typically at 7 o'clock, getting a later start tonight because of some technical issues that we may still be working through, so we apologize and we appreciate your patience here as we get ready for the Georgia Tech game. A lot of things to try to get to here, Coach, now over the next hour until the top of the hour, with this being our first show here because of scheduling. So I do want to go back and recap a little bit from the first 2 weeks before we truly look ahead to Georgia Tech coming up this week. But, obviously the 0-2 start for the Bulldogs. Now both losses, one-score games against playoff teams from a year ago. You even had to deal with the hurricane. When you look at the start to this season and where your team is currently 2 weeks into the year, getting ready for Georgia Tech, how do you assess things right now for the Bulldogs?
Could be an issue for us because there are two very good football teams that we faced. However, we thought we could be able to sneak one of those out, and we probably had our opportunities in both games to be able to sneak them out, whether it was the turnovers or taking points off the game, off the board in the the Towson game, or last week where we didn't do enough on offense and didn't do enough on defense to really warrant a win there. However, we could have stole one with the special teams that we put on. So I thought we at least gave ourselves a chance to win both of those games. And unfortunately, it just didn't work out for us. So we are where we are right now. We're going to get better from this, and really nothing has affected us. We still got all the SoCon to play. We've got an FBS game this week, which we'll be excited to play. So we're in good shape. We're not hitting the panic button. We're all right.
You said nothing's affecting you. As you mentioned, you did have that hurricane last week to deal with, which is old hat for you guys at this point now, 3 of the last 4 years. You won the first 2 times when you had to relocate after a hurricane, and then this past weekend, the 7-point loss at Elon. What was last week like for you guys? Obviously not the first time you had to go through that, but dealing with the hurricane, getting out of town, and being on the road for a full week.
Well, all 4 years they were different. They hit at different times during the week. This was the first week that we really left on a Monday, which wasn't the worst thing. Monday's our day off anyway, where we left on a Monday and we had every single prep day on the road, which is challenging. Is when you don't have the logistics down, you're really, in days when you should be game planning on Sunday and Monday, you're really planning logistics to go up to camp, which we knew the layout, and I thought that was the easiest thing for us to get done. We had some other options, but you don't know where you're going to practice. You don't know how you're going to lift. You don't know where you're going to watch film. You don't know where your position meetings are going to be. You don't know what your travel roster is going to look like. So those are all the things that we had to figure out on Sunday in order to be able to leave at 2 o'clock on Monday. So we spent all day Sunday between Andy Clausen, Mike Capaccio, and Kevin Yeager just dealing with the logistics of how we're going to do everything, where we're going to do our laundry at, where we're going to practice at, where we're going to stay at, how we're going to eat our meals, and those kind of things. All the things that you don't really think of when you're at home. You know where you're going to stay. You know what times you're going to practice. You know where you're going to lift. You know where your meeting rooms are. So all those things took a lot out of us on Monday. Therefore, on Tuesday we had to get up and go. We ended up practicing over at North Greenville, which they were very gracious hosts to us. Coach Farrington allowed us to practice over there from 10 to 12 Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, Tuesday and Wednesday we had to go someplace else on Thursday because they had a Thursday game over there. But the challenge was being able to pick up shop and move everything on the road, including all of our video, all of our equipment. So it was a challenging preparation week, and only to have a limited amount of roster spots. We had about 75 guys on the trip that were able to practice with us when we're used to a roster of about 118 to 120 guys. When we're at home, it's just more bodies to be able to work with out on the field. So it was definitely different, and it was different than the other 2 games that we had to play on the road, because we at least got 1 or 2 prep days at home. For the North Greenville game, we did get 1 prep day at home on a Tuesday, and then for the Presbyterian game, I think we got 2 prep days at home. So it wasn't as bad when you're traveling and playing on Thursday, and you got at least 2 days of prep on the road.
While you were there, did you make reservations for next year?
We actually did. We actually did say we would like the first right of refusal for next year. We know the layout. We know how it is. Our kids handled it perfectly fine. The staff handled it perfectly fine. It was they were more than accommodating to us, which was nice.
One of your players, Elijah Lowe, was born in the Bahamas, played high school ball in South Carolina. Fortunately, here in South Carolina, we made it through the hurricane, all things considered, okay, but as we know, the Bahamas didn't. Does he still have family there? What was the story with him the last week?
Eli's an interesting story. Eli's mom is from South Carolina, still has family. I met Eli's mom about a week before the Towson game. She was at the Meet the Bulldogs, and she was planning on staying the whole season here and watching Eli play his senior year, which he was very thankful for. His dad was going to stay over in the Bahamas and run the charter fishing company that they do have over there. So Eli was all week he was worried about his dad, worried about his house over there. Eli's dad's family is native Bahamian. They've been about 8 generations, he told me, over there. Wow. And his family is deep over there. So he stayed, watched the house up. It wasn't until Friday afternoon that he heard about his dad, and his dad is safe. Unfortunately, they lost just about everything in their house. They were completely wiped out. The mom actually had to take a charter boat over to the Bahamas to see the dad and see the damage done. And I believe they're going to take a seaplane back here sometime this week and kind of get back on solid ground over here.
Well, at least the parents are okay, and his father made it through okay personally. That Towson game to start the year, getting back, shifting back to football. When you look at the Towson game last year, that was the one team in FCS football that was able to kind of run away from you guys. This year it came down to the final possession, ranked team, top 15 team. You had a chance to beat them at home. Were you encouraged, if ever encouraged, by a loss with how this year's game went against Towson to start the year compared to last year's game against them?
Yeah, absolutely. I thought we played a lot better. It's about the exact same offense. The defense, they had a couple of losses there, but what we did was we kind of neutralized their offense as best we could by just staying on the field. We had three really good drives. We had I guess an 18, I think we had 2 18 and 1 19-play drive, which is what we wanted to do. We were able to grind and lean on those guys as much as we can and keep Flacco off the field, which was our number one goal. Unfortunately, once again, we took points off the board on one of those 19-play drives, and we couldn't convert on a field goal. And on the other drives, we fumbled the ball. I think we only punted twice all day long. So I was encouraged by the offensive play, and then really we didn't let Flacco hurt us as much as he did the year before. He accounted for 60-something% of the offense a year before of 600 yards. So this year was completely different. We contained him a little bit more. He's a good athlete. He's going to get his yards. He's going to get out. And he's got 3 really good wide receivers and a pretty good running back to run the ball. So he took a lot of the pressure off of him. And, unfortunately, when it came down to it and we needed a stop and we needed a turnover on the last drive when we had the 21-20-point lead, we just didn't get it.
Now, I do have to ask you, 5 of the last 7 losses against FCS teams have been by 1 score. What's the difference between turning those into wins moving forward, those close games that can go either way with the bounce of the football?
Well, every single year we've got to get over the hump, and we've got to have one of those years. We started off 0-2 last year before we got the win over Mercer. You've got to get over the hump. You've got to get that win underneath your belt and figure out what it's like. And I thought we were there as a program with the way we ended last year. We ended on a pretty good note against Charleston Southern, and I thought that that would carry over. Unfortunately, we're still just playing a couple of young guys on the defensive side where we've got to be able to see it, feel it, know what it's like to be able to get that big play on the defensive side to be able to finish off a game. And then on offense, we've got to put a drive together, a game-winning drive. I thought we had at least converted the points that we needed to convert off the special teams last week, whether it was the onside kick, the surprise onside kick, or whether it was the 2 block field goals or the 2 block punts. At least we were able to convert points off of those.
You look at the first 2 games, falling behind early, not scoring in the first quarters. In your 4 years, the Bulldogs are 16-3 when not trailing after the first quarter. How important is it for your offense and for your team to get that first score, play with a lead early on? Yeah,
we're built to handle a lead. We can come back, and we have come back in certain situations, certain games, and which is what we did in the third and the fourth quarter these past 2 games. However, it's much easier for us to play from the lead. We can kill a clock with the best of them. We can grind on you. We can lean on you. We can play keep away a little bit, and go for it on 4th down like we have been doing and trying to challenge the 4 downs a little bit. So it's very important for just the way that we play our football games not to get behind. So we've got to do a better job of getting off the field on defense and being able to stay on the field and not turn the ball over on offense like we did against Towson.
It's our first Coaches Show of the year here with the head coach of the Bulldogs, Coach Brent Thompson from the Marina Variety Store Restaurant at 17 Lockwood Drive. With you till 8 o'clock, and you can tweet in your questions on Twitter with hashtag AskCoachBT on the Citadel Football Twitter account. Use that hashtag. We'll get to some questions later on. But first show of the year, so we'll continue to recap so far the start of the season and get ready for the big game Saturday at Georgia Tech as well. With you till 8 o'clock from the Marina Variety Store and Restaurant, it's the Coaches Show right here on ESPN Radio 94.7 FM and 910 AM.
Pizza with Pepsi. Delicious.
TD Bank's new intern, Bart, is one of those robots from another bank. We're training him to bank human. Bart, why are you winding the clock back?
The clock stated 11:35 p.m., but they are still working.
The clock is fine. Our live customer service is available all night, and all day for that matter. He's learning.
At TD Bank, we do things differently.
Hello?
Like live customer service.
Hello?
24/7. Don't just bank. Bank human.
Style. Selection. Service. Quality. Value. See what everyone is talking about. Ashley Furniture Home Store.
Signature sandwich, the Citadel. Our Carnegie Deli cheesecake will take you straight to New York City. See why we've been voted best deli for over a decade at East Bay Deli.
Mark Lee became the first Navy SEAL killed in Iraq, sacrificing his life for our freedoms and his SEAL teammates. America's Mighty Warriors was born out of Mark's challenge to pass on the kindness, the love, the precious gift of human life. We honor our troops and Gold Star families by providing programs that assist recovery after injury or loss. Partner with us by making a generous donation. Text MARK to 234-231-9284. America's Mighty Warriors, supporting our troops and the families of the fallen.
This is the Pepsi for serious fans and serious eats. This is the Pepsi for Sundays at the ballpark and days off at your favorite pizza joint. Right, Aaron?
Best slice in New York.
Whatever you're craving, this is the Pepsi for you.
Sorry, Dad.
Sure, you could get him a new car. You could also light a pile of money on fire. Because as long as Mr. It wasn't my fault takes the wheel on occasion, maintaining this car is your best option. So keep it running longer, stronger, with quality parts and a whole lot of Napa know-how.
Dad, where are you going?
Take a look at local, family-owned, and operated. Seals has been selling quality products with excellent service for over 50 years in the Low Country. Products include Grady White Boats, the greatest value in coastal family boating, with its CV2 hull design for the ultimate boating experience. Located in Mount Pleasant and West Ashley, Seels Outboard is proud to be a Marine Industry 5-star certified dealership. Check out current inventory at seelsoutboard.com and follow us on Facebook at Seels Deals for the latest promotions. Seels Outboard, your premium Grady White dealer in Charleston.
I enlisted in the Army in 2005. I went to Iraq 3 times and Afghanistan once. She's the culprit that ripped our door off. 2,000-pound animal bumping into a steel door creates quite a bit of damage. I actually use the app, take pictures of it right there for USAA, and they take care of the rest. USAA is great about working with both active and separated military. I'm Josh Eilers, and I'm a USAA member for life.
Call USAA today to talk about your insurance needs.
Pizza with Pepsi. Delicious.
TD Bank's new intern, Bart, is one of those robots from another bank. We're training him to bank human.
Bart, why are you winding the clock back?
The clock stated 11:35 p.m., but they are still working.
The clock is fine. Our live customer service is available all night, and all day for that matter. He's learning.
At TD Bank, we do things differently.
Hello?
Like live customer service.
Hello?
24/7. Don't just bank, bank human.
Style. Selection. Service.
Coach of the Bulldogs, Coach Brent Thompson from the Marina Variety Store Restaurant for the second straight year, located at 17 Lockwood Drive, right down the road from the campus. Great food, great views, and tonight a great guest with us for our first Coaches Show of the year. Better late than never with getting ready for Week 3 with Georgia Tech, still recapping the first couple of weeks of the season with the head coach of the Bulldogs. And you can participate in the conversation as always. Just use the hashtag AskCoachBT on Twitter. A couple questions are coming in for you, Coach, as always. Walt B. on Twitter asks, watching the game at Elon, he was looking ahead to Georgia Tech after watching the game at Elon. Will you look moving forward into using the passing game more in order to open up the run game?
Well, that's a great question. Yeah, so we opened up the game trying to throw and loosen them up a little bit, being that we ran the ball so much against Towson. And unfortunately, we got off to a 2nd and 10 start, which is not what we're looking forward to. So, near the end of the game is usually your time to be able to throw the ball after you've set everything up. Unfortunately, Walt, when we looked at it and we looked at the film, we had really let a couple of opportunities go in the passing game where we had some cut open wide receivers that were wide open out to practice early, guys that we just didn't hit. And then unfortunately, if we either broke down in a protection or we just failed to see the wide open receiver. So we've worked on it a little bit more. We've done a little bit more with it, trying to move the pocket a little bit more for Brandon, as well as the offensive line. So I don't ever really go out there and say we're going to throw any more or any less. Really what we do is we take what they're giving us and we take everything off of the play action routes and then try to take what they give you early on. Certainly we would like to be able to throw it mid-range a little bit more and be able to get the ball out of our hands quicker. And we certainly do have some of those, and we're working on different options with Brandon. But our number one concern is always the run game first.
81 Dog asks, with Brandon Rainey, the run game has been so good with him as the starting quarterback. What were some of the reasons why it struggled for the first time with Rainey at quarterback against Elon this past weekend?
Well, I don't think we ran the veer very well, and that was the unfortunate thing, is we hadn't been able to get the veer going. And that was the one thing that I had focused on, being that we had a limited amount of players. I thought the option game for practice the week before, leading up to the Elon game, was going to be the best option for us. Unfortunately, you're not doing as much live contact physical work when you are 72-man roster right there as opposed to a 120-man roster. So we had to make do with what we had. So the veer game was the best thing that we were trying to work on. And unfortunately, it didn't work out well for us. We really, at the end of the game, resulted in we really just resorted to going back to what we did against Towson a little bit, and that's kind of hammering the fullback up and in there and trying to soften it up inside. And I think really that's more of our bread and butter. That's more of Brandon's bread and butter right there. But we've got to continue to at least keep the veer of the threat of the veer out there for us.
And I know Elon faced 7 option offenses the last 3 years, and that defensive line, that was a big front there that you guys were going up against Saturday.
Yeah, they were. They were very well coached. They knew what they were doing. They didn't catch you by too much surprise. The number one thing that I thought I gave them probably a little bit less credit for is how fast their team speed was. When we did and able to get the ball on the perimeter, they sucked you up pretty good. And that was the number one difference. That's why I thought maybe I had probably underestimated them a little bit and probably should have gotten downhill quicker on them.
Get to another question here in just a sec, but first to set it up, in order to segue there, how have things gone from your perspective with the switch in the defensive scheme through the first couple of weeks this season?
Well, I think there's certain things that we are not, obviously the fundamentals have broken down, and they broke down last week, not only on the defensive side, but the offensive side as well. We blew some protections, we blew some blocks. We just missed some blocks flat out, but the same thing happened on the defensive side. Now we blew some coverages as well as we blew some, we just didn't make some tackles, and those are just fundamental things that we can't have happen on either side of the ball in order to win football games. And that's what I told the team on Sunday, is the story is the same at the Citadel. We have to be assignment sound and fundamentally sound, and we weren't that. The only thing that we did well on Saturday was play special teams. And if that's going to be the case moving forward, then we're going to struggle. So we spend all week, Tuesday and Wednesday, just working on our fundamentals and getting back to playing physical style of football. And on the defensive side, that's number one. That's the number one important thing that we've got to get done. We didn't do that last week on either side of the ball. So I think the defense is coming along. I knew that there was going to be some growing pains with all the different fronts that we've got working on, all the different looks that coach has given them. But as we go through the year, I think we're going to get better. And as the kids learn that defense, they're going to get better.
Along with that defensive change, you're pretty young once again on the defensive side. For example, in the secondary, 9 of the 10 guys on the depth chart are underclassmen. I think you played 6 freshmen in week 1 against Towson. Does it help to go through a change like that when you are so young, because maybe they weren't so baked into the previous scheme, or does it make it more challenging when you're going through a scheme change and also are doing it with a young roster?
Well, it's nice that everybody learns it at the same time. Everybody's at the same level just about right now, so they're all going to grow up in it, and they're all going to grow better with it. The only thing that you do lack is just game experience back there. You've got Lane that has played a bit back there. You've got Phil that's played a little bit back there, about a year or so back there. So you've got some guys. Sean Thomas Faulkner was a brand new starter last year, so you've got some younger guys over there in the back end. But we were also without Destin Mack for the last 2 weeks, who was our starter at the strong safety position. So Chris Beverly's played a lot for us, but really he's only a sophomore back there. So there are a lot of guys making some mistakes back there, and we're going to get better, and certainly the addition of Destin back this week will help us.
Switch to the 3-4 defensive scheme, and you have Brawley and Randolph really good on that defensive line. So the question from Dogfan 1987 is, when you switch to that scheme where you only have 3 guys on the defensive line as opposed to 4, does that affect somebody like Brawley and Randolph? Could that lead to more double teams for them? Does it make it harder on, say, the defensive ends in a scheme like this now compared to, say, last year?
Well, you're moving those guys so much that it should help them out. And really, you're not that far off from what Coach Harrell was doing at the end of last year, where we were playing a lot more three down front and moving, which is not a whole lot different than what Coach is doing, what Coach Grantham is doing right now. He's just doing it in a different way, and we're starting out in that three and going to a four down look. He's had the ability to get into a four down look. Whenever we thought we were getting some run, we got a good personnel package ready to go. I don't think it's so much the scheme as we're just not doing the fundamentals correctly right now.
You can always send in your questions every week. Use the hashtag AskCoachBT on Twitter, and we'll get to some of those questions every Wednesday here on the Coaches Show. Time for another break. We will come back and continue to recap the first couple weeks. Get ready for the game with Georgia Tech this Saturday with a 12:30 kickoff there in the Atlanta area. It's the first version of the 2019 Coaches Show here with the head coach, Brent Thompson, at the Marina Variety Store and Restaurant right here on ESPN Radio 94.7 FM and 910 AM.
Quality. Value. See what everyone is talking about. Ashley Furniture Home Store.
Deli is a New York-style deli with a distinctive Southern flair. Our eclectic menu is fresh, delicious, and affordable. Enjoy our fresh salad bar, large sandwiches featuring certified Angus beef, delicious and healthy wraps, and our selection of gluten-free options. Come in for our signature sandwich, the Citadel. Our Carnegie Deli cheesecake will take you straight to New York City. See why we've been voted best deli for over a decade at East Bay Deli.
Mark Lee became the first Navy SEAL killed in Iraq, sacrificing his life for our freedoms and his SEAL teammates. America's Mighty Warriors was born out of Mark's challenge to pass on the kindness, the love, the precious gift of human life. We honor our troops and Gold Star families by providing programs that assist recovery after injury or loss. Partner with us by making a generous donation. Text MARK to 234-231-9284. America's Mighty Warriors, supporting our troops and the families of the fallen.
This is the Pepsi for serious fans and serious eats. This is the Pepsi for Sundays at the ballpark and days off at your favorite pizza joint. Right, Aaron?
Best slice in New York.
Whatever you're craving, this is the Pepsi for you.
East Bay.
Sorry, Dad.
Sure, you could get him a new car. You could also light a pile of money on fire. Because as long as Mr. It wasn't my fault takes the wheel on occasion, maintaining this car is your best option. So keep it running longer, stronger, with quality parts and a whole lot of Napa know-how.
Dad, where are you going?
Take a look at local, family-owned, and operated. Seals has been selling quality products with excellent service for over 50 years in the Lowcountry. Products include Grady White Boats, the greatest value in coastal family boating, with its CV 2-hull design for the ultimate boating experience. Located in Mount Pleasant and West Ashley, Seels Outboard is proud to be a marine industry 5-star certified dealership. Check out current inventory at seelsoutboard.com and follow us on Facebook at Seels Deals for the latest promotions. Seels Outboard, your premium Grady White dealer in Charleston.
I enlisted in the Army in 2005. I went to Iraq 3 times and Afghanistan once. She's the culprit that ripped our door off. 2,000-pound animal bumping into a steel door creates quite a bit of damage. I actually use the app, take pictures of it right there for USAA, and they take care of the rest. USAA is great about working with both active and separated military. I'm Josh Eilers, and I'm a USAA member for life.
Call USAA today to talk about your insurance needs.
Pizza with Pepsi. Delicious.
TD Bank's new intern, Bart, is one of those robots from another bank. We're training him to bank human.
Bart, why are you winding the clock back?
The clock stated 11:35 p.m., but they are still working.
The clock is fine. Our live customer service is available all night, and all day for that matter.
He's learning.
At TD Bank, we do things differently.
Hello?
Like live customer service.
Hello?
24/7. Don't just bank human.
style, selection. Service.
Variety Store and Restaurant at 17 Lockwood Drive in downtown Charleston for the Coaches Show with the head coach of the Bulldogs, Coach Brent Thompson. Coach, switching it up this year, what's on the menu for you tonight here at the Marina?
Well, I got a buffalo chicken wrap. I didn't get too far away from the wings, but I did change it up a little bit. It's been about 3 years, I guess, with the wings. It's time to change it up.
Yeah, good food here, good views. Come out anytime, but especially Wednesday nights. We'll be here every Wednesday during the football season with the coach of the Bulldogs from 7 to 8 here with the Coaches Show. Let's start to look ahead towards the game Saturday with Georgia Tech, 12:30 kickoff, so coverage will begin at 10:30 here locally Saturday morning on 102.1 FM, 92.1 FM, 1450 AM, The City, which is the flagship station of the Bulldogs. Coverage begins 10:30 Saturday. Looking ahead to Georgia Tech, it's your one FBS opponent this year. Of course, Alabama last year, Clemson on the schedule next year. What did you like about Georgia Tech when this game was scheduled for this season?
Well, first of all, Coach Johnson was the head coach there, so I thought that would be a great opportunity just to be able to see live and in action what they've got going on. And unfortunately, he did retire last year, so I don't get to have that. But a couple things that I also like is it's Georgia. It's fairly close to us. We've got a lot of players from Georgia, so that attracts a little bit of the recruiting for us. And it's also a pretty historic field. You don't get an opportunity to play at those all the time. So another one of those venues that you can just mark off your bucket list.
You mentioned Coach Johnson. You run the similar offense to him. There's only a handful of guys in Division I football that run this style of offense. Is there that sort of fraternity? Like, have you had any interaction with Coach Johnson before? Is there any sort of fraternity amongst the coaches that do run that veer triple option type of offense?
Yeah, absolutely. We all kind of work together. I've been to Navy. Those guys do a great job up there. I was up at Army this past year, certainly doing a wonderful job up there. And Coach Monken, I was at Georgia Tech last year. Actually, he had allowed us to come over and watch us practice and see how they do it over there. We've made trips all around. There's my buddy down in Jacksonville that I work for. He's a triple option guy down there. So there's plenty of guys around. There's plenty of guys that do a good job with it. And for the most part, we all share a lot of ideas. Even some of our D2 guys, I think they do a wonderful job. In fact, there was a big triple option convention down in Dallas this past year where there was a lot of high school coaches down there. They were doing a good job. A lot of guys that know a lot about the offense and just bring something different to it. The number one thing that we like to get out of going to visit someplace else is what are you seeing? What are the problems that they're running into? Try to get some answers to those.
So now Coach Johnson is gone. Coach Jeff Collins comes in. First year, new coach, trying to put in a new system. Do you know what to expect from Georgia Tech when you get out there Saturday?
No idea. He has changed just about everything there, completely changed the offense, obviously changed the defense quite a bit, and that's going to be new for us. We're going to have to wait and see. Now, we have a pretty good idea from the first two games, but when you're a triple option offense, they don't necessarily defend you the same way, so you've got to do some research and you've got to find out what are their tendencies, what do they like to do, what are their main fronts versus this, and then you've got to practice it all, and you got to rely and probably lean a little bit on your experience and playing a lot of different defenses over the course of the last 15 years that I've been running this offense.
You've used 3 different quarterbacks through the first 2 games. They've returned the 6th fewest pass attempts in the country from a year ago, so change at that quarterback position not only from last year to this year, but even from week to week, quarter to quarter. Do you know what to expect from the quarterback position? Do you have to prepare for all 3 guys?
You do. You have to prepare for all 3, and 2 of them can really run it. The other one's a little bit more of the thrower in there, but the 2 that were recruited there to be the option quarterbacks, those guys you've got to watch out for, and they're naturally going to make plays with their feet. Now, they've tried to do a little bit more in the intermittent passing game, make it a little bit easier for them. The offensive line has gone through a couple different changes. Not only is it just a huge scheme change, as I can imagine that's a huge undertaking for the offensive coordinator, but they've had some injuries and they've mixed some guys in and out of that offensive line, so they're trying to figure out what they can do and what they can function and how they can be able to move the football right now, which is a little bit challenging for our defense.
Along those lines, they don't put out a typical 2-deep depth chart, which for the broadcaster bothers me. For the coach, does it make a difference to you when you get ready for a game like this?
We have to watch the film, and they call it above the line, which is an interesting. It's a play on the ATL, which is kind of cool. But I like where he's going with it. I think it's a great thought, and I think it's a great way to motivate players, and I think it's a good way to put out a depth chart. Once I realized what he was doing, it kind of explains it up at the top. Is really he's trying to play the best guys from week to week, which is what a depth chart typically is. So he listed all the guys in there that have played quite a bit, that are playing extensively for him. uniform. And those are the guys that are playing above the line, which I think is a neat concept. Whether it deserves the two deep or anything like that, I don't know. But I do like it, and I do understand where he's going with it, and I thought it was a pretty neat idea, especially when you just come into a program.
This became quite a bit of a big storyline to start the year. Oklahoma and Houston played week one. Oklahoma said they weren't going to put out a two deep, so Houston said in return, we're not going to put one then. Other teams doing it this year. Do you see any sort of advantage? Do you see the Citadel football moving in that direction at some point where you will do something like above the line, moving ahead with the two deep?
No, I really don't. To be honest with you, I don't think that much about it. Our guys are our guys out there. You can get it off the film. You can determine off the film. I don't put a whole lot of weight in the two deep. Whatever's on paper, I need to see on film, and that's what I told our guys is let's go back to the film and figure out who's playing and who are the guys that we need to worry about. What we do know is there's going to be 11 out there on one side and 11 out there on the other side, and there's 22 guys out there total. That's all we really need to worry about. So I don't foresee us going that route. It used to be common practice, believe it or not, before there was all the electronic ways of exchanging films and those kind of things, where you would exchange flip charts and those kind of things from the game. And if you didn't exchange a flip chart, you didn't get a flip chart back. So this has been going on for years, back to when I was the video coordinator and exchanging films. Like if you didn't get it tight, you didn't get it tight from there as goes guys. If you didn't get a game program, you didn't get a game program. It was always 1-for-1. So that's been going on for years. There's always a little bit of tick for tack there, and sometimes I don't blame it. Shoot, if I don't get a game and exchange, and you don't deserve one of mine.
Yeah, certainly. As the Bulldogs get ready for Georgia Tech Saturday at 12:30 kickoff, coverage begins at 10:30 locally on the City, 102.1 FM, 92.1 FM, 1450 AM. We do have to hit one final timeout, and then we'll come back, wrap things up here from the Marina Variety Store Restaurant, and continue to get ready for Saturday's game with the Yellow Jackets. It's the first version of the 2019 Coaches Show with the head coach of the Bulldogs, Coach Brent Thompson. Come back, wrap things up next from the Marina Variety Store Restaurant here on ESPN Radio, 94.7 FM and 910 AM.
Is a New York-style deli with a distinctive Southern flair. Our eclectic menu is fresh, delicious, and affordable. Enjoy our fresh salad bar, large sandwiches featuring certified Angus beef, delicious and healthy wraps, and our selection of gluten-free options. Come in for our signature sandwich, the Citadel. Our Carnegie Deli cheesecake will take you straight to New York City. See why we've been voted best deli for over a decade at East Bay Deli.
Mark Lee became the first Navy SEAL killed in Iraq, sacrificing his life for our freedoms and his SEAL teammates. America's Mighty Warriors was born out of Mark's challenge to pass on the kindness, the love, the precious gift of human life. We honor our troops and Gold Star families by providing programs that assist recovery after injury or loss. Partner with us by making a generous donation. Text MARK to 234-231-9284. America's Mighty Warriors, supporting our troops and the families of the fallen.
This is the Pepsi for serious fans and serious eats. This is the Pepsi for Sundays at the ballpark and days off at your favorite pizza joint. Right, Aaron?
Best slice in New York.
Whatever you're craving, this is the Pepsi for you.
Quality. Value. See what everyone is talking about. Ashley Furniture Home Store.
Pizza with Pepsi. Delicious.
TD Bank's new intern, Bart, is one of those robots from another bank. We're training him to bank human. Bart, why are you winding the clock back?
The clock stated 11:35 p.m., but they are still working.
The clock is fine. Our live customer service is available all night, and all day for that matter. He's learning.
At TD Bank, we do things differently.
Hello?
Like live customer service.
Hello?
24/7. Don't just bank, bank human.
Style. Selection. Service. Quality. Value. See what everyone is talking about. Ashley Furniture Home Store.
Sorry, Dad.
Sure, You could get him a new car. You could also light a pile of money on fire. Because as long as Mr. It wasn't my fault takes the wheel on occasion, maintaining this car is your best option. So keep it running longer, stronger, with quality parts and a whole lot of Napa know-how.
Dad, where you going?
Take a look at local, family-owned, and operated. Seels has been selling quality products with excellent service for over 50 years in the Low Country. Products include Grady White Boats, the greatest value in coastal family boating, with its CV 2-hull design for the ultimate boating experience. Located in Mount Pleasant and West Ashley, Seels Outboard is proud to be a Marine Industry 5-star certified dealership. Check out current inventory at seelsoutboard.com and follow us on Facebook at Seels Deals for the latest promotions. Seels Outboard, your premium Grady White dealer in Charleston.
I enlisted in the Army in 2005. I went to Iraq 3 times and Afghanistan once. She's the culprit that ripped our door off. 2,000-pound animal bumping into a steel door creates quite a bit of damage. I actually use the app, take pictures of it right there for USAA, and they take care of the rest. USAA is great about working with both active and separated military. I'm Josh Eilers, and I'm a USAA member for life.
Call USAA today to talk about your insurance needs.
Bay Deli is a New York-style deli with a distinct...
The Citadel Bulldogs coach Brent Thompson, as we welcome you back to the Marina Variety Store and Restaurant located at 17 Lockwood Drive in downtown Charleston, right down the road from the campus. The Bulldogs will be hitting the road for a game with Georgia Tech Saturday, 12:30 kickoff. Coverage will begin at 10:30 this Saturday here locally on the City, 102.1 FM, 92.1 FM, 1450 AM, which is the flagship station of the Bulldogs all year long. Coach, you were here when the Citadel went and beat South Carolina. Last year, obviously, stole the headlines with that performance against Alabama. What is it going to take to go to Georgia Tech and leave victorious on Saturday?
We're probably going to have to do the same thing that we did at South Carolina. We're going to have to be able to move the football, keep it away from them a little bit. Really, you got to be able to play pretty good defense against them too, and you got to be able to make them punt a few times, get a couple of short fields out of it, and make sure that you're converting. The day against South Carolina, I think we converted some pretty good for fourth downs right there. We played keep away. Our punter was pretty good. We had a pretty good place kicker as well, so we were able to convert on most of our possessions, or we were either flipping the field, which I thought we played some really good defense in that game. And leading into that particular game, I thought we had pretty good mojo going. We were going in the right direction. The defense was playing really well. Unfortunately, we had come off a loss against Chattanooga that day, but we were inspired. We're always inspired to play these FBS games, so I think that's what you're going to get. I love the 12:30 kick. I think that works out well for us. We're used to getting up early and going.
Only a couple minutes left with you. I wish we could spend more time on it, but the special teams change in coordinator this year, but you guys able to pick up right where you left off, the 2 blocks, the onside kick. Matt Campbell's been excellent. Special teams shined on Saturday once again for you guys.
Well, it's been a point of emphasis for us. We changed the format of the staff to be able to create a special teams coordinator, which spends all day. And at the FCS level, that's very difficult personnel-wise. You don't have enough staff members to do that. So that ended up working really well for the past 2 years with Coach Gunner as well as Coach West. It's an emphasis. That's all they do. They spend all their time watching all the special teams film. Typically on an FCS staff, you're looking at a position guy that's in and out of an offense or a defensive staff room trying to figure out what they're going to do on the punt team. We're very fortunate enough to be able to have Coach West to be able to just diagram and diagnose and carve them up, hopefully, every single week, and at least do a good enough job where we can focus a little bit more on it. So I was very impressed. I love the way that he handled it. I thought he did an excellent job of it and gave us some options, and we've adopted this go for it kind of an attitude, go for the punt blocks, where a lot of people will do that. They don't want, they worry about roughing the kicker. Well, we spend a lot of time on fundamentals of being able to teach how to properly block a kick without trying to rough the kicker. And, that may happen every now and again, but to be honest with you, that's something that you're going to live with. And we've gotten, maybe 6 or 7 over the past couple of years. Yeah. We've gotten some pretty good block kicks. And those are game changers for us. And it gives us a chance.
Yeah, certainly 7 total blocks last year. The 2, again, Saturday against Elon. Special teams have been fantastic. Got only about 60 seconds left. Without revealing your plan, your schemes, your scouting report for Saturday, what are some keys going up against Georgia Tech specifically in a couple of days?
we've got to do just what we were talking about on special teams. We've got to do on offense and defense. We've got to let it hang out. We were going to have to take risks. We're going to have to continue to go for it on fourth down. We've had some pretty good success. We've got to create a little bit more short yardage on fourth down. We've got to be able to apply pressure to Georgia Tech's offensive line without forcing the quarterbacks into an easy run situation for us. Got to find a way to get off the field on third downs with the defense. That's really been our nemesis. I thought we've had some pretty good third down opportunities to get off the field, and we just haven't been able to do that. If we can do that on the defensive side, create a little bit more opportunities on the offensive side for explosive plays to happen. We've had a couple, and I think we've been impressed with the way that Raleigh's been able to create a couple of big plays for us. Brandon's a methodical kind of football player, but Raleigh's an explosive one.
Well, Coach, we appreciate the time here in the first Coaches Show of the year. Appreciate your honesty and all your answers tonight. Wish you the best of luck Saturday against Georgia Tech. We'll do it again here, same place, same time next week.
All right, look, see you in Georgia.
Absolutely. That's head coach Brent Thompson, head coach of the Bulldogs, for our first Coaches Show of the year. We'll be here every Wednesday at the Marina Variety Store Restaurant at 17 Lockwood Drive in downtown Charleston, 7 to 8 every Wednesday night. Bulldogs kick it off 12:30 at Georgia Tech this Saturday. Coverage begins at 10:30 on 102.1 FM, 92.1 FM, 1450 AM. We'll catch up with you here from the Marina Variety Store Restaurant next Wednesday, 7 o'clock for the Coaches Show on ESPN Radio.